We have tonight Miss Nishaea Richardson. Nishaea is a person who is out there doing the thing, and y'all know I love entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurs. I love people doing their thing. I typically don't read bios, but she has such an interesting bio. I want to just kind of give you guys a backdrop before we kind of drop into it. So, Miss Nishaea Richardson is a financial coach who has a passion for helping others achieve through financial fitness and success. She has had over 2 years of experience financial coaching and has worked with hundreds of clients virtually and in person through her financial literacy and wellness workshop. She does one-on-one coaching. In addition, Nishaea is a financial coach for the Affordable Housing Partnership of the Capital Region of Home Ownership Center, where she helps home buyers with money strategy to master their money during and after the home buying process. I like that, after the home buying process, because y'all know when you buy a home, that's when just everything, seems like you need to buy. She's a certified Six Sigma yellow belt and has completed the Financial Coaching Academy to ensure that all of her advice is rooted in knowledge and experience. Nishaea is a recognized authority on all things money and has written syndicated columns on several news sites and has participated in multiple nationally syndicated radio shows. Tonight, we get to talk to Nishaea on one of my favorite topics, and I like the way she approached money, y'all. I'm gonna tell you why. She will be talking about our relationship with money. Hello, Nishaea. How you doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good, good. You were kind of coming in on the trivia. What happened? Did you get distracted? I was rooting for you though.
I can't type as fast as Dr. April, so I just kind of gave up and just laughed the whole time. So yeah.
Yes, it is the fast typers that get it. Ren always complained that's why he don't win. But anyway, we're gonna leave that on Ren. But if you don't mind telling us about yourself, we love to start with an origin story. Who are you? How did you get started in money? Tell us something about you.
I always like to share that I was not the most financially savvy person. So I don't know where everyone is with their finances, but my credit was messed up like real bad. So I don't even know how I got a house, but my credit was awful. Like I was literally living paycheck to paycheck. If I had an extra $10 after I paid all the bills, like that was a good 2 weeks, right? And life was very stressful when finances were not in order. And when I actually went through my process, I shifted my mindset. I realized like this is no longer the life that I want to live. And like I made a lot of sacrifices over a couple of years of working a second job. I had to get rid of some dead weight, some exes, all the things that sometimes we don't think are in the way of us going to the next level. But I had to do some real stuff, right? And so I got on the other side of it. And the last two, so the pandemic, when the pandemic happened, I was introduced to a community that was around wealth building. And I realized there was a huge gap. Like people, the services that we were offering was around credit restoration, but people didn't have the financial literacy. They didn't know how to manage their money. They didn't know how to build their money. And their relationship that they had with their money was just real toxic. And that's when I was like, hold up, I'm called to do something different here outside of working with this company. So I moved from that and opened my own financial coaching business. And that's how I got into finances, because I saw that there were so many people struggling with money because one, people are embarrassed, they're ashamed, or they think that making more money is going to fix all their money problems when it's really not the case.
Awesome, awesome. I love the fact you said you had to get rid of some dead weight. I'll let y'all figure out what the dead weight. But one thing that's impressed me is that you kind of jumped into it. Although like you said, you jumped into this thing during COVID. You hit the ground running, right? Do you ever feel like you're like moving faster than other people? Does it feel natural for you? You're doing radio shows. How in the world did you get up to speed so fast?
I don't know because naturally, and people don't believe me when I say this, I'm an introvert. Like I like to just, I'm a loner, right? Like I don't like to be in the spotlight, but sometimes we're called to do things and we don't understand why. And when it gives us energy and we're on that high, like that dopamine, when we're doing that thing, we know that that's where we belong. And that's how I feel when I talk about money. And like I see that people are like getting it and they're like, okay, I'm ready to do something different. I get that high from it. So even though I'd rather be in the back somewhere hidden, making money, I will be out in the front talking about money as much as possible, as long as it helps somebody and makes them listen and do something different.
It reminded me that when you're doing something you love, it's almost like introvert, extrovert, it disappears because of this soul hustle, this soul passion thing, right? Is that what happens with you? It's like it disappears or you don't think about it? I mean, what happened?
That's exactly it. It's like, as much as I wanna say no, I'm like, "No, I gotta say yes." And then when I do the thing, I'm, like, so excited. Like, right now, I just got off a presentation before I came on here, so my energy is really high, and I was talking about money and mindset. So I just, yeah, it's just, like, the time just passes really quickly. You don't realize what's happening, and the next thing you know, you're like, "Oh, okay, I guess we're done." But, yeah, it's really exciting to be doing something that you really enjoy.
Awesome, awesome. Let's talk about the emotional part. I think well, I know what you kind of stepped into what I like because I've always known that emotions and and mental health and things affect money, but I really couldn't put my finger on it, right? And but when I begin to watch what you do, you talk about our relationship with money. Tell me in your observations of working with clients, how do you feel that our emotions and our mindset can impact our relationship with money?
Yeah, so I like to ask people, is your younger version of you managing your money, or is it the adult version? Because some of us have some traumatic past with money, right? Either we grew up in poverty, resources were scarce, there was lack, right? Or maybe there was some incidents when we were younger. Maybe our parents argued about money, or they were always scraping to get by. Every topic about money was negative. So we carry those things and subconsciously we hold on to them. And that's how we end up managing our money, not even realizing that that's the thing that we're holding on to. So when people don't realize that their relationship that they have currently with their money is rooted in like old stuff or things that they were taught, then they don't realize that they're maybe subconsciously sabotaging their goals, or maybe they're not making as much money as they want to be making because they're afraid of what's going to come of that. So is it going to then have arguments with their partner, or are they going to have family looking at them sideways because now they're making more money and they were always taught that people who have a lot of money are evil and greedy, right? So, it's really important that people look at who is managing their money. Is it that younger version that has all those negative beliefs about money and things that they were taught? Or is it the dope self that you are now who's making money? You're achieving everything, certifications and degrees and all those things. Or is it that person who's managing their money? So I really like for people to like get really clear on what are some of the things that they were taught that they may still be holding on to. And then we start working through those things.
Awesome, awesome. Do you have any, like, stories you can share? Because I'm curious at, like it sounds so hard, like, how would you incorporate, like, mindset and emotional well-being? So stepping back to the question, I'm talking about incorporating mindset and emotional well-being into coaching. It just seems like so opposite, right? I mean, do you have any, like, stories or ways that you, incorporate, mindset and emotional well-being into your coaching methodology?
Yeah, so sometimes we don't get right into the mindset stuff. We start managing the money. So we create a budget, create a savings plan. And then through that work, you start hearing how people respond to some of the things that we're doing, some of the comments that they make, or they may say something like, oh, I'll never get out of debt, or I'll never have enough money to save, or, those types of things. And as I start recognizing those things, I actually have a really long checklist, and it gives them the opportunity to choose between different options. And on the checklist, it doesn't tell them like what each one means, but based on how they answer yes to this or no to that, that lets me determine if there's some areas in their mindset that we need to address, right? And then also, when the mindset is not something that we focus on, a lot of times people get excited about their money goals. They want to save, they want to do all these things, but they get off track. So that's one of the main reasons why people don't stick to their financial goals, because they haven't actually shifted their mindset to match that life that they desire. So they're still trying to be that old person. And it's like, no, that old person is not the one that's going to get you to the next level. So that's one of the other reasons why we do need to address mindset when we're coaching with money, because if not, it's going to look something like putting money in your savings account and then finding a reason to have to go back in there and spend that money, right? Or after you have accomplished a goal, finding some reason to sabotage everything that you've already done And instead of staying forward, you're going to go back and revert to the old version of you.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
I begin to think about how life has changed over the last few years, right? We had this pandemic, and all of a sudden, there's this financial stress and anxiety. And, there's so much going on, based on the stress and anxiety. Do you find that that kind of shows up when you're trying to do simple things like, work out a budget with them?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people don't wanna look at their money, and that's, like, the first step, right? So, some people on the call could probably relate, like, they've been avoiding looking at their finances because there's so much stress around money. Some people just they don't like numbers, right? It's just too much for them, or they may know that they have a lot of things that they have to work out, maybe some debt, some late payments, like, they have stuff all over the place, and they've been avoiding it. So sometimes that is the one of the most difficult things is actually doing that initial review of everything. And during this part, my clients actually do that part on their own. So it can be tough for them because they've been avoiding it for so long. And now they actually have to like open everything up and really see what's been happening, how they've been spending their money and all this stuff. And that can be tough for a lot of people if they have been in that space of, not wanting to manage their finances because they're afraid of what they're going to see.
Awesome. I can tell that your clients definitely love you and the work you do. Do you mind sharing with us anything that your customers say about you? Do they feel that you have a different approach? Do you feel that you make it more comfortable for them? What do your clients tend to say?
Well, first of all, one of my clients calls me the money Yoda.
Oh,
I'm like, okay. But the thing that I hear over and over and over again is that I create a safe space for people to talk about money and feel really comfortable. We live in this world where everyone's so judgmental and it's just crazy to me. But I'm just not that person because one, I came from a space where I was not doing well in my finances. So who am I to judge, right? And then the other thing is, I want to help. So by me judging people, that's not going to help anyone. They're not going to want to talk to me and open up about a topic that, no one really wants to share about. So yeah, I'm always told that I create a safe space for people to really, share everything and just let it all out and not feel judged or ashamed of where they are currently.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As we begin to wrap up, I would love to kind of, talk about some of the initiatives that you have, some of the ways that people can support you or reach out to you. Like, do you do consultations? Let us know what would an engagement look like. Let's say someone here tonight or in the replay, they said, hey, I really want to reach out to the Shay. How do they reach out to you and what should they expect?
Yeah, so you could always book a financial wellness call with me, which is really an opportunity for us to meet one another, for me to understand where you are in your finances and where you want support or what goals that you want to accomplish and where you feel like you have some shortcomings in your finances. And after that call, if I feel like I'm the best person to support you, I would offer you an opportunity to work with me one to one over a 3-month period. And actually, as of today, I just launched my Money Haven Academy. So this I am like super excited about. There's not too many things I get excited about, but this is one thing that like I can't even like hold it in. Um, but this is really a community for high achieving professionals to come to learn about money, to have a community of support of other people who are also working towards their money goals. And I'm bringing in wealth experts, wealth building experts every month. So I focus on the foundation of money. So, like the budgeting, the mindset, the saving, the debt management, those types of things. And I'm actually collaborating with other wealth building experts to show you how to grow your money, right? So, we're talking about investing, real estate, tax strategies to keep more of your money, life insurance, all the things that we really need to build wealth, manage and grow the money that we currently have. And I'm also bringing experts to show us how to make more money. So, it's just a really exciting time for me and how I'm showing up for people who need that financial literacy support. They need a community because, we don't always have people around us who are on a positive journey with our finances. And it also gives you an access to, be in a room a monthly masterclass or whatever with me to learn about money if you're not quite a fit for my one-to-one coaching.
I love that. I'll tell you why, and I can tell why you're excited is that there's nothing like community. Here at Soul Thursday, we have this community, right? And I was just talking to someone recently about how hard it can be to give referrals. Like, hey, I want to kind of bring you in, but it's like, are you going to treat my people right? And I love this workshop approach because it seems like you get a chance to bring in other professionals that you trust, begin to work together and enhance, the work that they do in supporting your followers. So that's pretty cool. Now, how do people participate in this new initiative you have? It's on your website.
If you go to my main website, you'll be able to access it there under the coaching section of the website, but that's the direct link here. That's going to take you right to the community. And I believe that, not that I'm one to really think big, heavy on cost, because I'm always investing in my education and growth, but I've really made the cost something that's affordable for people and that's not too much of a stretch to where they can enjoy being in the community and not worry about how much it's costing them. And I show you how to expand your current cash flow anyway. So it's like the best place to be because I'm going to show you how to find some money in your current income anyway. So I'll show you how to find the money to pay for the community. So it's a win-win.
I love it. I love it. I'm kind of curious, at the type of customers that reach out to you because you seem easy to talk to, easy to work with. Have you found that certain customers are attracted to you and your services? What type of problems do they come? They're like, I'm trying to buy a house. I'm trying to improve my credit. Give us an idea of the typical person that would reach out to you.
So it's a combination of all of that. Most of them, they want to save, right? They want to save, they want to pay off debt. They do want to build credit. They want to start investing. Those are like my top. I've had some people who have already gotten themselves into like deep financial troubles where they're coming, by the time they come to me, they have a $20,000 tax bill because, their income in their business 10x and they didn't realize how much money they actually had to put away for taxes type thing. So by the time they came to me, it was like, whoa, now we gotta, fix stuff. But yeah, usually it's like I say the basic stuff because to me, it's the basic, the foundational stuff. But for some reason, whatever they have tried, the budget they've tried, the strategies they've tried has not worked for them to where they can save, have that extra money to do the things that they really enjoy doing. And they just have a difficult time with creating a simple money management plan just to get started, which is always surprising to me. But then I also remember like, girl, this is why you're doing what you're doing is because people don't have these skills. And it's like almost we assume that because we're adults, we should just automatically know how to manage our money, and it just doesn't work that way.
One question that had come up that was discussed back and forth with participants in the chat was, should the emergency fund be separate from the savings account? What's your opinion?
So you can have a couple of different accounts. It really depends on what you're working towards. So I would say have your emergency fund. So you can have that separate. And then if you have other things that you're working towards, you can have a separate account for that. So maybe, you have your car maintenance fund or you have your vacation fund or your financial freedom fund, whatever it may be. I would say if you have multiple things that you're saving for, then yes, separate those. And also get very clear about what you're using your emergency fund for, because sometimes that is the gray area where we say, okay, well, I have this money in my savings or my emergency fund, but you haven't already established what you're going to use that money for. So then it becomes, well, I have the money here, so I'm just going to use it for this, or I'm just going to use it for that, as opposed to already having in your mind, I'm only using this in the event I lose my income, or I'm only using this in the event of X or Y or Z, right? So yes, you can have separate accounts. And if so, label them in, if you're working on different goals at the same time.
What if someone comes into, I guess, a large amount of money, a lawsuit settlement, maybe even a huge tax refund? Like, what are the types of things they should do with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really no shoulds, right? But it's really what's important to the person. What are they working towards? So if paying off debt is your thing, then maybe you use half of that towards paying off debt. If you do not have a savings or any type of emergency fund in the event you lose your income, maybe you want to fund that. Maybe you've never gone on a vacation. You're like, I'm tired of just paying bills and not doing anything fun. You do a vacation fund, right? So that's the beauty of money, is that we really can all create our own desired life and start using our money for those things versus these shoulds, or, you have to have this or you have to have that. That doesn't work for everyone, which is why sometimes people don't do stick to their financial goals, because they really don't care about those things. It's not important to them. So I would say already have set in your mind what's important to you. What is the life that you desire to live? And start spending your money and investing your money in those things versus things that may not be important to you. But it also may be an opportunity for you to also meet with the financial planner to say, what should I do with this money? Because I have a large lump sum of money and maybe you want to invest it or whatever you want to do with it. So, the things outside of that foundation, it may be time to talk with the financial planner to start doing some different things with those finances.
I love it. I love it. If you guys ever heard a budget that people couldn't keep up with, I mean, there's a lot of them. I like your approach, your flexibility, because it depends. I love that response. And like it seems like you meet people where they are, as opposed to giving them something that is so strict they can't really, live to, adhere to. Dr. Mimi has a question. It's more specific, though. Do you advise life insurance over investment or leave a legacy for the fam? See,
I personally don't like the IUL life insurance policies and all those things, but I do believe in life insurance. I definitely have life insurance for me and my son. So I would say if you can do both, and leave that for your family, yes, because, depending on if you have kids, someone has to take care of your children, right? Or, I learned this a couple of years ago that our debt, it doesn't just go away when we pass away. So sometimes people are like, oh, well, I'm not going to take it. I can't take it with me. So I'm just going to spend it all. Right. But then you're leaving your family with your financial burden, where you could really set them up to where they can have a clean slate and also build generational wealth if there's any additional money left over. I think that's one of the best things to do for your family, is really set them up with some type of foundation. Not everyone has that philosophy, which is fine.
just as we wrap up this conversation, once again, in the context of reducing financial stress and anxiety, let's say that there are people out there and they feel in that feel, you know what I mean? It's financial, it's stress, it's anxiety. They feel like they can't get ahead. Any advice you would give someone who are just starting to take control of their finances? Any advice you would give them about how to get started and how to kind of begin to reduce this financial stress and anxiety?
Yeah, I would say, have that reality check with yourself, that, maybe avoiding looking at your finances and setting up some type of budget, but start with the basics, which is like creating a budget. And I'm going to keep it super simple as far as budgeting. I could go like, I have a different way that I do it with my clients, but to keep it very simple is just write down every bill that is coming in every month, and then write down all the income that you have coming in. And first you want to subtract the two to make sure you're on the good side of it. You have a positive number. If you have a negative number, so after you've added everything up and you subtracted your income from all of your bills and you have a negative number, now it's time for you to have a reality check with yourself. Are there some things that you need to get rid of? So maybe you don't need to have a house cleaner come every week. Maybe they can come every other week. Maybe you don't need to get your hair done every week. Maybe you can get it done once a month. Those types of things, right? Or if you don't want to get rid of anything, now you need to see, do I need to make some more income so that I can truly live how I want to live, because I don't want to give up anything. This is the life I want. Now I need some income. And that's going to be the start. Just seeing where you are, bringing it down to the basics, and then seeing, are you good in the space that you're in, or do you need to make some more income so that you can do the things that you really desire to do?
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Nishaea, for just getting us started, thinking about money, thinking about stress. And I just have to say, I love your approach. Having done, these money makeovers, these extremes and other stuff, you keep it, I don't want to say simple, but direct. You break it down and you help people get past, I guess, what I would say that most stressful place of, do I do it, how I do it, when I do it. You're like, hey, write it down and make sure you guys reach out to Nishaea. She dropped in the chat how you guys can schedule a session with her. And here at Southern Soul, we love to say that we find the good people and we give our endorsements to the good people. But if once y'all meet these good people, they ain't so good, let us know. We're like, whoa, 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 what's going to say? I thought you were going to take care of people. But no, we appreciate it. Our people will definitely come, high quality. So Nishaea, thank you for being here. Thank you for the opportunity. Feel free to hang out as long as you want. We're going to chat with Dr. April, and then we're going to have the real K Boogie show up tonight. How you doing, Dr. April?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Dr. April, what do you think about Miss Nishaea? I mean, I like how she just keep it simple. What are your thoughts?
I do. I so appreciate it. When you invited me to be a part of this program, I completely fell in love with your mission. It's about bringing information that's so relevant to our community. The segment was about mental health and the connection with money, and that's something I see a lot in my work, in my practice. So this is all related, all related. Good information for our community.
Awesome, awesome. I'm going to read just a little bit about you, and I would love for you to kind of get us started with your origin story. Dr. April Harris Britt specializes in, well, she's a licensed psychologist in private practice in Durham, North Carolina. She's been practicing since 2003. She received her doctorate from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. In addition to providing child, adolescent, adult, and family therapy, Dr. April conducts comprehensive psychological evaluations, forensic evaluation, comprehensive custody evaluations, and additional more services. Specific areas include trauma and violence, adoption, attachment, medically fragile children, divorce, transition, and of course, our topic for the night, the strong, silent Black woman. Welcome, Dr. Harris Britt. How you doing?
I'm doing well. This is a little bit late for me, so I'm just intrigued that I still have the energy to be here. I think it's the passion for the topic.
Awesome, awesome. Tell us a little bit about you. We just want to kind of get started. And here at Southern Soul, we love an origin story. How did you grow up? Did you always know you'd be a psychologist? Like how did you get started?
Well, first I'd say it's interesting. People are always surprised to hear that I am a Dermite, that I was born and raised here and am probably living about 10 miles from where I grew up. I grew up on a farm with my mom and my dad and siblings. It's one of those like compound farms where grandparents and everybody's there in the little house with the tin roof. And we did not even have a working bathroom in the house, to put it that way. That tells you a little bit about how I grew up. So we were really poor and didn't have a lot of money, but it wasn't until I was probably an adult that I realized how poor we were, because we always had enough. And I think that's true for farm life. We always had enough. But it wasn't until maybe about age 10 when my parents separated that then I really saw the struggles of what it meant to be raised by a single mom, with an absent father. And, my mom was a bus driver her whole life. And so we would be up with her at 5 a.m. in the morning, and at the Eckert's counter as she was cooking in the afternoon, and on weekends in the hotels, we were helping to clean out the ashtrays. So we were so poor that for us a treat was sharing a Happy Meal, me, my brother, and sister, once a month. We never saw our mom complain. We never saw her cry, and we never even saw her ask for help. Again, as I said, and I think as an adult, all the messages that kind of sent me regarding what it meant to be a mom and a Black woman. And felt really fortunate that we had a real large extended family. We were raised by the village, the way, we talk about children needing to be raised by a village. But again, it's not until I was an adult that I said, wow, it never occurred to me that all the women in my life, or all the family members in my life who raised me, were all women, and how that began to shape me. But we can talk about that a little bit later. I've always been really academically focused. I went to UNC for undergrad and grad because it was the local school, and started a private practice when I graduated. And all of that was to serve the community. And so, that has really been what's tied me to this area. And you asked me if I always knew I wanted to be a psychologist. I didn't know what a psychologist was. I knew I wanted to be a teacher, a writer, a doctor of some sort, a helper. And again, just ironic that I'm able to do all those things as a psychologist. So I didn't know what one was, but I can say that I'm living in all the ways that I saw myself wanting to. to serve even when I was really young.
Awesome, awesome. I love, love, love an origin story. Let me tell you guys about what I love about Dr. April's story. I lived in Raleigh, Durham for a while, some 15 years, and I'm from Texas, and I was amazed, right, that it's one of the few places I've ever seen, I've ever visited, I've ever lived, that you can get a valuable high school education, go to undergrad, go to grad school, get a PhD, and then get a job, start a business or a church, do a lot of church starting in that area, build a life all within 15 minutes of grandma's house. Where I'm from, you have to drive halfway across the country to get to the point of doing some of the awesome things. So I could only imagine the awesome village that you had there in Durham, the Bull City, aka the home of the Durhamites. So welcome, Dr. April. April, tell me this. You're involved in a lot of organizations, the Board Center for Cooperative Parenting, the American Psychological Association. Tell me about some of the other key initiatives or projects you're working on that currently helps you kind of shape your values and perspective as a psychologist.
Serve on all of these committees, the American Psychological Association, North Carolina Psych Association. For me, the purpose of doing that was really to help advocate for our community. And so we look at the numbers of psychologists of color across the country, and it's like less than 5%. So you can imagine the people who are on these boards and committees that they don't traditionally look like us. And so each and every board and committee that I'm on, I really am trying to bring our voice, the voice of the small farm girl, the voice of, as a mother, as a grandmother, as a person who grew up really poor, and helping them shape whether it's policy or decisions. We've helped to shape laws about mental health and so forth. But again, it's always, I think, my role and my job to make sure that I'm representing people who look like me, people who've grown up like me. And that oftentimes is not the case for the other people in the room. So I emphasize diversity. I emphasize understanding different perspectives. And that's kind of my mission. I'm going to keep pushing forward with it.
Awesome. I love representation. Let's get into the key topic of tonight. And I've seen this so many different ways, written different ways. If we're talking, we call it the strong Black woman. If we rapping, we call it the INDEP. Y'all know what I mean. But in academics, they call it the strong silent Black woman, with emphasis on the silent. We had a show about a month ago, and it really helped me see this nuance. And what we were watching was, we were doing a show on Gen Z. These were people who were typically between the age of, let's say, 18, 28 or something like that. And we had a panel of young women, and these young women were very, very passionate. And each of them, not all of them, but let's say 3 out of 4, had a story. And they say, well, my mother did this, but I wanted to do the opposite. So I worked really hard, and I have 3 or 4 jobs, I'm paraphrasing, doing so much stuff. And I could begin to see their passion and their drive. But I also began to feel like, wow, that's a lot of burden. Dr. April, tell us your perspective of the strong, silent Black woman. Is it a stereotype? Is it a superpower? Is it a burden? Is it a myth? What is your thoughts? And tell us about what you've seen.
Well, Cal, I think it's all of those things. I mean, I want to give us as Black women some credit regarding our resiliency. I mean, if you think about, us as a group, you often hear, if you want it done, call a Black woman. If you want it done right, call a Black woman. When you think about raising children, sometimes alone or as single parents, it's us as Black women. Even now, I think the political system is like, yep, the Black women fixed that. We are remarkably resilient, but it does, I think, come with some cost to us in lots of different ways. And so just going back to that strong Black woman archetype or schema, it's basically saying that, for us, we're going to silence ourselves. We're going to suppress our feelings because we can hold on to everything. We don't feel anger the same way. We don't feel sadness the same way. We're going to be nice, because if we don't, we're going to be mischaracterized or sometimes even denigrated. So that's one part of it, is we're going to be emotionally restrained. Another part of it is what we always talk about is the independent Black woman. And we're independent. We can do it all, even to the point of not needing anyone. And so when I talked about the story, my origin story. I said, wow, I saw my mom do all these things. And how did that implant into me this notion that I'm supposed to be able to do all these things and stay silent about it and keep going? When in hindsight, she was working herself down to the bone. The other part of it is this whole aspect of caretaking that as Black women, not only are we independent, but we're going to take care of everybody, often to the point of sacrificing ourselves. Like I said, our mental health, our own ability to like engage in self-care. And we make sure that everybody else is taken care of even before ourselves. And so when you put that all together, that's where I say it's a little bit of a burden. It shows up in how we see ourselves. If we don't accomplish all these things, we're not good enough. It impacts the way other people treat us. I have sat in so many university meetings and committees and organizations where they want to assign me all the work that they know will get done right, but that's at an extra burden to me. And I'm just like at the point in my life where I realize that that's not okay, but they see me almost as being able to do it all. And that's where it becomes a burden. I say that it's a myth because we're not invincible and we can't take everything on, and we shouldn't take everything on because that's what's showing up in our relationships, in our health, our mental health. And I think the most negative part of it is that we wear it to the point where we feel like we don't need to be nurtured or taken care of because somehow asking for that help or receiving that help doesn't make us strong. And so we stay silent about it. And that shows up in so many different ways.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for sharing that, especially some of the personal stories. As you begin to kind of share that personal story, like that academic story, it's interesting because on one part, you're doing the thing, but then all of a sudden you get more work and then you
Yeah.
get more work. And I'm like, it never stops. So I can only, begin to imagine how that becomes. Tell us about this. You see different types of patients. Do you typically see these nuances when you're working with patients? And if so, like, what do you call it? How do you talk about it when it comes to some of the work or the projects you do?
It shows up in different ways. So, in addition to private practice, I also am a faculty member for doctoral students. I'm also a researcher. So, we're often kind of guided by things that, have shaped us or that we're seeing. I have Black, female students who are really interested in this for research. It shows up through, I think, just illness and poor health and wanting to understand more. And it shows up in as depression, it shows up as anxiety, it shows up in burnout. And that's again from my students to peer colleagues who are saying, oh my gosh, why was I given 10 committees? Because they see that I can do it. And at some point, we even think, oh my gosh, they think so highly of me. They're giving me all these extra special tasks. Well, I begin to say it doesn't come with magic beans that I can spend or do anything with. So, no, thank you. But those are the ways that it appears and it shows up. And burnout, again, physically as well as mentally, um, it's just about with everyone I interact with.
Yeah, that's a tough one there. I mean, I like the way you describe it as it shows up almost somewhat in an invisible way. It can show up in mental health places. It can show up in burnout. It can show up in sickness. It can show up in stress. It seems like it shows up. Did you discover that? I like the fact that your young PhD students recognize it. Do you think the average person recognize it, or do you think they separate it?
I don't think we recognize it. And that's why so much of my work is trying to speak to the everyday person. It's not someone who's gotten to the point where they have hypertension or they're depressed. And even when they come in with some level of depression, I find that Black women can't even identify depression or anxiety. It's like, oh, there's a cloud over me, or I feel like I'm moving slower. But they don't recognize that this is burnout to them physically and mentally. And so a lot of my work is around helping them be more compassionate to themselves, to recognize what these signs and symptoms are, and then to start really focusing a little bit more on wellness. And that is so hard for us because, like, I even share it with myself, we are programmed. We're programmed by our mothers and our grandmothers. I mean, my grandma was still chopping wood at the age of 98. We're programmed by oftentimes being raised by our village of women where we don't see men who are in positions to really be our protectors and our caregivers. So we do it ourselves. And that has unfortunately been the history of us as Black people. So it requires a lot of deprogramming and understanding why we function the way we do and why it's not really healthy to keep going that way.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to leave some time for some questions. But before we go there, I love the fact that you're working with young women on the topic. Do you have any advice you would give individuals who are considering and pursuing a good career in psychology, particularly in the areas of family therapy or the strong Black woman, of these nuances that are very, very important to Black women?
Well, if I can, I'm going to say let's not limit this to psychology or even therapy. More often than not, we're all in helping professions. It might be helping someone with their finances. It might be helping someone in therapy. It might be helping someone as a nurse. We're all helpers. And I so strongly stand by that whole montage that we cannot pour from an empty cup. My number one go-to advice for people in helping professions is to say, focus on your self-care. Have a mind, body, and spirit approach to taking care of yourself. Every day I remind myself I am not a savior. I'm not rescuing anybody. I'm not a martyr. I'm not, saving anybody at my own expense. I gotta have some balance or else I'm not gonna be able to do this work with anyone. So for me, it's all about self-care.
Love it. I love it. And I remember when I first got introduced to the word self-care, I was like, I don't know what that word means. It would just seem too soft to me. I was not taking it seriously, right? But one of the things that I've been impressed, and Tamika's going to share your information in the chat, Dr. April be working out. That's one reason why she's sleepy, y'all, because she didn't work out 3 times already today. How did you get into working out so hardcore? Was it a part of your self-care? Tell us about that part of you.
It has always been important to me as a mom. I want to be able to run with my kids, whether it's soccer or, just shuttling around the football team. My children are adults now, but really it was the pandemic. The pandemic hit, they shut down everything. I'm a business owner, I'm a family member, I'm a person. I said, ooh, I'm going to either take up drinking wine heavily, or I'm going to throw myself into this exercise even more. And what I tell people every day, as I say, I work out twice a day, but the first time I work out in the morning, it's to get those endorphins going. I got me some serotonin, some dopamine high. It's my morning cup of coffee. And because I spend the whole day focused on trauma, drama, and everything else we would consider to be a hot mess, I clock out in the evening and I give my body a good reset by saying I'm shaking this off, and I do a little bit of extra in the evening. So it serves different purposes, but it all serves me because I said I am not about to let my work, which I do believe is my passion for helping people, kill me. And so that is my investment to myself. That is my investment to myself.
Man, Dr. April, I'm gonna start using that. I will take your one line, and she says, I spend all day working on trauma and drama. Who else feel like they feel all day working on trauma and drama? I mean, not figuratively, is it figurative? Y'all know what I'm talking about. All day working on trauma and drama. And y'all saw the news with Jamie Foxx. Man, that boy done worked himself. It's true what they say. He went to the hospital, and next thing you know, they kept filming the movie.
You were saying even for yourself, self-care was not on the register. For Jamie Foxx, self-care was not on the register. This whole trope about the strong Black woman actually came out of John Henryism. So for anybody who is not my age or older, John Henry was the folklore. He was the Black man who was trying to build the railroad quicker than the steam engine. And in the end, he did, but he died along the way. So the overworking, that tendency to say, I got to get to this goal, I got to finish this, it ends up killing us, both men and women. So we're not going to engage in John Henryism. It's not the myth of the strong Black woman. We're going to learn to take care of ourselves a little bit better.
Awesome. Awesome. And I definitely agree. We lost Tranika, but we're going to get some questions in the chat. Tamika, let me know if you see any questions in the chat. In the meantime, Dr. April, tell us what's next for you. I mean, you seem like you're working, you're busy, you're teaching. Do you have any upcoming activities, any marathons where the audience can follow you?
This actually was my semi-retirement year. So I am slowing down a little bit with clinical practice and focusing more on the community and advocacy. So whether it's writing books or presenting, I just got back from a trip from Peru where I went out and really camped on a mountain for 7 days to give myself some mental and physical clarity. But I'm just trying to, do good work, but again, not at the expense of my physical or my mental health. So that's what I'm doing these days. Still seeing clients, still teaching, still doing research, but just trying to find balance.
Awesome, awesome. I'm gonna meet some of my nice. Let's see here. Let's see if we get Dr. Mimi or Letitia. I know they always got some questions. I like questions. Sometimes people get shy when we get new people in the audience. Let's see here. Oh, there goes Sherry. That's my favorite shy person. Let's see here. Let's get some people unmuted. Dr. Mimi, any questions you have for the speaker?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Um, Thanks for having this young lady on. She is definitely awesome. You know, she's talking about my jam right there. That's all I'm about. And I love that she even referenced the John Henryism. I thought I was the only one that looked into that. But I want to know if you do any I know you've got so many things going on, you're a professor and all these things, but do you do many collaborative efforts in research? Because I study research Black women as well. I'd love to get into something with you, even if it's just articles or any kind of scholarly thing, whatever.
Absolutely do. And again, that's been part of my goal for cutting back a little bit with my private practice work is I just feel like it's important for us to share this information more broadly. And that's through collaborations, research, community engagement. Very interested in those types of projects.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. So, Dr. Mimi, I'll make sure I connect you. Well, you go ahead and connect with Dr. April, and I'll make sure I share her email address with you so you can definitely connect with her. I love the work Dr. Mimi is doing. I love research because research is the topic. My favorite topic, question, or statement about research is natural hair. I love natural hair, but as you guys know, when it comes to shampoo, it was a very long time that we were using other shampoos that really didn't work for our hair. Well, when we begin to research our own things, such as our own hair and our own body and how things work for us, we can begin to give solutions that work for us instead of using products or things that were designed for other people. We have a questions in the chat. Let's see here. Let's see. I tell you, really paid off to the piece. Actually, no. Well, it's some comments. One comment, the speaker is really encouraging, literally inspiring us to slow down just a little bit and take care of ourselves. And I really appreciate that. Well, I want to say thank you to Dr. April for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your perspective and your work you do. And I want to give people just the last few minutes, see if you have any questions. Any last thoughts that you would like to share with us, Dr. April?
I think I've summed it up, and I do encourage us to connect with each other, and to just continue paying this forward. So I'll let this be my last comment. And so I go around and I encourage people to slow down. We can follow like the NAP ministry. I often hear people say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know we could. I didn't know we could slow down." And my comment is always one where I say we have to change this culture.
No, go ahead.
That's okay. We have to change this culture. As long as we're programmed to think we're all supposed to be spinning so quickly, it feels wrong to get off the wheel. But the more of us who can say, no, we're supposed to slow down, we're supposed to move a little differently, we're supposed to rest, then we can start to change this culture in a way that benefits everybody.
Awesome, awesome.
I just want to ask a few questions on you believe I know you believe in a lot of diversity and integrity and honesty. I just want to give a your insights on that as far as as
Awesome.
Well, thank you for your question. And, you know, people ask me about, who I am. And I say, I wake up every day and I try and live by those principles and values that are important. And if, for me, it's integrity. For me, it's living in your purpose. I think that when we're aligned or we're doing the work we're aligned to do, that's what promotes physical health. That's what promotes mental health. So please do always audit, how am I supposed to be living? How do I feel like I'm supposed to be living? And stick with that. And like I said, find you somebody who's going to support that so that you can do it in a really authentic way.
Awesome. I love it. And then up next, y'all, and we got on deck a local virtual DJ, the real K Boogie. How do we handle the people, work and family,
Yeah.
who don't handle our nose very well as we make this change? Any advice in this area? Ooh, that's a good question.
That is a question. I'm gonna answer it as quickly and concisely as I can. I think it again goes back to compassion and self-compassion. So I always have compassion for people not necessarily having the bandwidth or their ability to respect why I said no, but my self compassion, my need to have those boundaries is even more important. And they always say if a person cannot understand and tolerate your boundaries, don't be mad at them. Be compassionate about it, but that doesn't mean let them go. Because the minute you do, you're more upset with yourself for not standing by what's important for you than it is to actually say no to that person. It takes practice. All of this takes practice. So don't expect to get it right from the very beginning, but keep doing it. Keep doing it. And for many of you on this call, we are the change makers. We're the ones who say we're going to change these unhealthy patterns in our families. And so just keep practicing no matter what.
I love it. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Dr. April for being here. There's one more question in the chat, Dr. April, if you want to answer that via chat before you leave.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your story, your inspiration, your why, your encourage, your ethics, your values. And I love these community architects. If I think about tonight between Nishaea and Dr. April, just the nuance of what we're doing. And if you feel like, hey, it's something about the way they do this topic, the way they progress, the way they build community, then come on back each week, 8 p.m. on Thursdays,